2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's Peter, France, Niko, Peringer, and Wren, and of course me, Jake, here for another episode.
What's up, everyone?
Niko's got the handpan. Peter's supposed to be playing his other piano, but he's not.
It's not working.
He's just mean mugging the camera instead.
Woo! Guys, I don't know how we begin, but we begin.
Happy Monday.
I don't know where
Happy
we
Monday,
end
son.
sometimes. Yeah, we'll see if this comes out even close to Monday. Hopefully it will. Maybe it'll be more like Thursday, but it doesn't matter because we're all here together. And I think that's what podcasts are all about, you know?
Hey, remember like 2 weeks ago when we had a podcast before the election was over, and we're like, who knows who will win the election? I'm sure they'll all know by the time this podcast comes out.
That's why we invited back on 4 more heteronormative white guys to talk about politics. You guys ready?
Let's do it.
Let's not.
Man, yeah, so that was fun, and we still don't quite know. I mean, I think we all know, but maybe
We all know. We all know. Everybody but the president. He literally tweeted last night and all. Actually, you know what?
Don't
Here's
even
the
go.
No,
Don't even
fuck
go.
him. We don't even need to talk about
Don't
this.
even go. Let's
We
move
don't even need to give
on.
it attention.
Let's move
No more free
on.
real estate. No more free real estate.
It's free real estate.
So, guys, I figured this would be a great opportunity for all of us to talk about things we've been building, such as Wren's, camera, Wren and Niko's camera gun thing that you're
We
working on.
literally just started that today. I'm literally wearing the shirt that is like me starting the whole thing.
I know, but it's super cool, and it's something Niko's been wanting to do forever, so I figured
is.
that'd be a great starting point.
Yeah. We're making a camera gun. Like, wait, what the heck is a camera gun? Everybody's probably wondering.
You
gonna
shoot
shoot
shots
cameras?
with it.
Yeah. You get shots with it, man. You get sweet shots with it.
Because every time you're on set, you're like, yo, we got to get the shot. Hey, can you just shoot that shot real quick? And
Exactly.
What's
Also,
the
it's
better?
only normal. Okay, so
I'll pull it up real
Dude,
quick.
run and gun shooting in LA is going to be so much more sketchy with this.
Now imagine
Yes.
a camera going right here. It's hard to see, but there's like a special tripod plate that I've mounted.
Yeah.
I took an angle grinder to an old airsoft gun and just cut it to shreds.
Nice.
So everybody listening to this is probably wondering what the heck we're doing. Everybody watching this is probably also wondering what the heck we're doing. No, we are not trying to just make our cameras edgier and more likely to get, the cops called on us. That is not our
Sam
intention.
called it a really bad idea.
Yeah, but I
said
called
that
it a
verbatim.
great idea.
You did. No, actually, you said
So-
I like that.
Yeah.
Look, this is a closed set device, all right? This is not a take it out in a public street device. This is a closed set device.
I mean, if
So-
you know anything about your AR-15s, sorry to cut you off, Niko, but if you know anything about your AR-15s, you'll obviously notice from Wren's picture that there's no magazine, which even if it could fire, wouldn't, because
Hey,
there's
there
not
could
a
be one
magazine
round in there,
it.
son.
There could be, but really, would there be?
All I know is that when the swap mags, it's going to be way more stylish now. Film magazines.
The data mags.
Yeah, the data mags. So back in the day, and this is the story I told at the beginning of the crew video that we filmed today. Back in the day when we first got the Scarlet, our first Red, it was such an expensive camera that we didn't have any money to spend on rigging. So all we had for the camera was a top handle and a lens, and then the camera's body, and that was kind of it as far as the rigging went. So we'd always put the camera on our shoulder and almost do like a sack of potatoes kind of pose where your hands resting on the top and then the camera's pushed into your shoulder, and then your left hand is holding the lens. It's almost like you're holding a rocket launcher or a bazooka. That's kind of how we held the camera. And even though it was really uncomfortable, the shots were really stable. And as we started getting better gear, it was more comfortable, but it was never quite as stable and as compact as it was when we were doing it that method of the bazooka hold. So I had an idea a long time ago to try to set it up like a rifle, where you have a stock going into your shoulder, you have a pistol grip coming out from underneath the camera body, and then your left hand, which would be holding the barrel of the rifle, is holding the barrel of the lens. you know, the analogies, like the words are just too, like, there's too many synonyms between cameras and guns for it to not make sense to build a rifle camera. But you know, the thing is, it's 3 points of contact that make it stable. If you only have 2 points of contact, it's like an axle. You can still pivot around it. So 3 points of contact gives it stability. So you have your pistol grip, you have your shoulder stock, and then you have your other hand on the barrel. And so those 3 points of contact, you know, for a rifle, it makes a rifle really stable, and theoretically, it would make a camera really stable also. So it's kind of like another way to approach doing shoulder-mounted camera work, but it's a little more flexible. You can pick it up and put it down a little bit easier. It's a little bit more in front of you. Like when a camera weighs like 25 pounds, then putting it on your shoulder makes sense. But if your rig only weighs 5 pounds or 8 pounds or something like that, holding it in front of you kind of like a rifle is not really all that exerting, and it gives you a little bit more of that flexibility for doing kind of like handheld camera work while still making it stable in the process. So that's what we're messing with right now.
So listen, as long as you only have 2 points of contact on an AR15 that has a barrel that's shorter than like 6 inches, I think, it's a pistol in the great state of Texas. And as long as you can fire it with one hand, it's still legal. Wow. That's all I know about 3 points of contact.
What's the minimum requirement of firing it with one hand? Just that it doesn't fly out of your hand?
Yeah. Did you hit the broadside of a barn?
Yep, pretty much. Anyways, so 3 points of contact. That's right, because that's what makes most shoulder-mounted stuff work. Because you got the shoulder, you got the 2 hands in front. It's rigged all together, and that's when you can get pretty good shots. So I'm interested to see what you guys do with it. Yeah,
you know, the theory too with like when you can pull it into your shoulder, you create a little bit of like that reverse tension, which like a shoulder mount, like a regular shoulder mount doesn't have that. It kind of rests on you. Whereas this has you kind of like pulling against itself, you know, so or you're pushing against it on your shoulder. So everything like packs in and comes a little more stable. But, you know, I dreamed it. Wren has to make it a reality. And it's tricky because you can't just necessarily 3D print just something all in one go like this. Or maybe you can, but there's nuances to it. You know, it seems like 3D printing is this like wonderful catch-all, or can just make anything. It's like, well, but you still have to design it, and so that's what Wren's trying to figure out.
The design is the problem right now. It's like, sure, if I had something to print, I could print it out tonight and have it ready tomorrow, but I don't have like an actual design yet. I just got to the point where I can start designing something, but now I'm doing this podcast, so you know.
What are you thinking?
Basically, more of like a socket. So the way I cut into the gun, it took a lot. First off, oh my god, it took a lot of time to take that gun apart. That was quite the challenge. And of course, I had to wear a white T-shirt when I'm handling grease and dirt.
It's got pins and stuff. You could have just removed it and had the lower receiver.
Oh, I took it all apart
without having to angle grind through it.
I only angle grinded through the actual metal. Of the outer lower, like the frame of the lower. Everything else actually dismantled, but it wasn't as direct. The 2 pins I took out, that was easy. But there are a bunch of other small little things, like the gun stock itself had a screw that was going through it into the internals of the gun. That eventually I figured out, I got to take that out. And then there's this other tiny pin, a tiny pin.
Yeah.
Like a millimeter wide. That was like the last thing keeping it all together. And once I got that out, the whole thing just came apart. I was like, yes.
Those guns have so many parts. That's why they always fail.
But once I got all that, basically the idea was that I wanted to have the camera lower than just like to sit the plates. Oh, that was the other thing. There's a Sackler plate that Niko brought up. It's like this whole frame in a plate that attaches to the camera, pops right in. And instead of just setting it on top, which would make the camera like really top heavy, I decided to cut into the frame to lower it down a little bit, lower center of mass. So now it's just a matter of trying to model and then print some sort of interface mount between that thing and the gun itself. And I've got it positioned so that the screw holes to that plate itself are accessible through the magwell. And so I just got to figure out how to kind of just put it together. I could just like get a big bolt and a big washer and screw it shut, and that will work. That'll work.
So that's our plan B. Or maybe it's like plan E, but
somewhere around there.
It's there if we need it.
I'll have to get some big ass screws though, if we're gonna do that.
I got a
still
spot.
need to get some what, like,
there's a place in there's a place. So there's a place in if you're working on cars and stuff, sometimes you need specialty bolts. And one time I have that old Ford, and the bolt that holds the alternator into the actual engine cast snapped, and so I had this half of a bolt like stuck into the engine cast, and I had to drill it out and then reverse it and stuff. And after that, I was like, never again am I gonna get a bolt that's just normal. I need something hard. So I called around to these specialty places. There's actually a bunch of them in LA. So if you need like specialty hardware, yeah, there's a lot of you can get the world's hardest bolt.
I mean, I just need a long 1/4 inch bolt.
Well, yeah.
or a screw.
But if you wanted to withstand like a traffic accident, you can get that too.
If there's gonna be
I'm
a
sure we'll be
VR2
throwing this camera through a traffic
that shoots
accident.
rounds, you'll need this one.
Yeah.
An interesting possibility with this rig is that you could totally, like, in a chaotic action scene with lots of guns and soldiers running around, it could be an incognito camera. And you just got somebody wielding the camera gun.
I see. I was about to say, what's incognito about a gun? But I
That's
see
what
in
it
an
is.
action scene where everyone's got a gun.
Yeah.
Interesting. But yeah,
Let's
we've
throw
only
in,
we're only like 1 day into this video so far, so it could end up going different directions down the road. Ideally, we actually end up shooting something with it for this video, even if it's just like a small little sequence of a few shots, just to kind of put the camera through its paces.
Yeah.
We'll see.
You want us to shoot something with the camera gun?
There you go. That's the title of the video right there.
It's called No
Yeah.
Safety. 'Cause there's no safety trigger.
That's the title of the video in the video is called No
yeah.
Safety.
Yeah.
Dude, I carry a clip loaded in my playback, just like so
Yeah.
it's hot the moment I hit record.
Can you mod the camera so that the data magazine goes through the actual magazine receiver?
I wish, no.
And then you put a huge one on there so you have like 10 terabytes of data, and you unclip it just like a real magazine.
Yeah.
Or if you get it set up with the red, you could use the red mags going like the little baby thin thing up
Yeah.
into the mag.
Oh yeah.
And then send it to like a they have that Cera coating or Terra coating or whatever it's called, that really fancy gun coating.
Yeah.
And you can get painted in all these ridiculous colors. So we should send it off to get painted in like a really, really fancy paint job.
That could be cool.
Flames.
Gold and black.
Think they could do
and
it by the end of this
flames.
week?
Lightning.
Yeah, no problem.
Really?
I
Interesting.
mean, it would cost way more than it's worth, but
Also, both Dean and Nick have separately suggested that I somehow turn the trigger into like a record button, so you're like
Oh, that would be great.
shooting. But I don't know how to do that right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's technically a remote record like protocol that a lot of cameras share, where if you just like give it a certain electrical signal across a certain port, it'll just enable recording.
Okay.
But-
If Blackmagic has that, I can maybe wire that up to like a little button and put a button
Yeah.
in place
Buy
of the
the
trigger.
switches on Amazon for like $5.
Yeah.
We could always just say we did it.
When have we ever done that? We never do
No.
that. We always do it for
not
real.
with something like that. Not with something like that. That would need to function for real.
Yeah.
Also, I keep seeing out of the corner of my eye. Did you model a camera, an eyeball camera, Peter?
Peter did.
Yeah, where? Oh, is that on Nick's computer?
Yeah, it's on the computer over there, and it looks exactly like the original. What was it? Samsung Galaxy
The
360 camera.
camera.
Oh, you're
yeah.
right.
It looks exactly like that.
I was just trying to make like if Apple made an eyeball, what it would look like.
I mean, it's pretty spot on.
Sweet.
Yeah.
that was fun.
That video's coming out tomorrow. So by
It
the
is.
time this podcast comes out, it'll have just come out. So
Hell yeah. Yeah, I was
What's-
wondering about that.
what's going on there?
What's going on there? Well,
Yeah, with the eye camera.
I think
I think it's done.
better
Almost
ask
done.
Nico.
So Peter, myself, and Nick have been working on this video last week, where it was just a question I had, in the back of my mind, which was, what are the specs of your eye? Like, does your eye see in 8K? Does it see in 16K? Does it see, is it 10-bit? Like, what the heck? If your eye was a camera, what would the specs be? If you want to make a camera better than your eye, what would have to be in it?
Yeah.
And so that, eventually we had time here where we could record a crew video about something like that, and did some research and did some experiments and and we discovered what it would take to make an eye camera. So Peter and I have a little skit going where we're acting like he's Peter Jobs, I'm Niko Wozniak. We're launching the eye camera. Because the problem is, like, we were trying to make cameras and we weren't successful. Then we realized it's because everybody has a camera in their head. So we need to make a camera that's better than that one if we're going to sell these cameras. And hence the eye camera was born.
The eye camera. The eye.
Aye, camera.
Yeah, Niko was doing all the heavy lifting. I was just there to go, whoa.
Yeah, it's cool.
Flex
we
those
had a
facial
good
muscles.
repertoire going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hey, your Jobs impression was actually pretty solid. So,
Thank
you know,
you.
the bow and the walk and whatnot.
You did
I
that
appreciate it.
for
Nick bounced with me.
you did that for a brand integration too the other day.
Yeah, I don't know how that one's gonna turn out. That was super weird. I guess we'll
I
see.
think-
What?
I think we already
What?
released it.
Did we?
I
No, I think it's
so.
coming out with the iVideo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think
Okay.
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like me just hanging out in the broom closet doing
I
a Steve
was a
Jobs
big
impression.
fan. I was a big fan,
Great.
especially with the B-roll. Did you see Nick intercut the B-roll of like people at iPhone, you know, like conventions, like
Oh,
And like an
blabbering
Apple
along?
keynote.
Yeah, keynote. Yeah,
Sweet.
yeah, that was super funny.
Those Raycons.
Yeah. So we got the eye camera. Now, Niko, how many stops does it need, did you say? To beat the human eye? Like 16? Or is it
No,
20?
20 over 20 stops. You need basically 21 stops or so
Okay.
to be at the level of like the mechanics of the human eye. But then like we have really nice neural net processing
Yeah.
behind all our images, which interestingly enough, Apple is doing in their iPhone now, the iPhone 12. There's neural processing on all the photos you take and the videos. It's
Whoa.
pretty crazy.
What does that mean?
So you guys have seen like everybody here on this podcast right now, you've seen the videos of something like up-reses old footage, or runs like an old image thing through like a image up-reser, and it uses an AI to upscale that stuff.
Wait,
Yeah.
what? What?
You haven't, or Nvidia's
No, I'm playing.
been.
I'm sorry, I'm playing. that was a bad joke.
Well, maybe. So. So you've seen maybe Nvidia. Oh, I get it. What you're saying, Wren. Sorry, I'm just in a very literal state of mind right now. Maybe. I'm sure people are familiar with Nvidia's demonstration of, I think it's like DLSS, where like it renders like a 720p image and then it upscales it to 4K. Yeah, so Apple's doing something similar in their phone because they have a standardized, lens and a sensor. They can really go hard in profiling their camera and how it acts. So, for example, you take that sensor and that lens, take a picture at regular exposure in a spot, turn all the lights off, and give it a little bit of light, crank the gain, take another picture. And now you have a ground truth of like, here's a picture without any noise, all clear, and here's one with a bunch of noise because the gain is boosted way high. And then you can use an AI to try to match those two. Since you can feed it the correct answer after it sees the noisy one and tries to guess its own answer.
Got it.
It's a really good way to do deep learning, is to have like a set of correct answers the computer tries to guess, and you can look at the correct answers and compare the two, and then
Wow.
the more correct it is, the more you encourage it to keep going down that path of development. Yeah, so Apple's basically been doing this for all their stuff because everything's all built into the phone. It's all profiled. And so now there's like, AI-based noise removal, there's AI-based up-resing happening, there's AI-based like image clarity and enhancements going on. And like it's very, very subtle, and there's like certain cues to look for. And the thing that I noticed was my eyelashes being really defined in the selfie camera when it was low light. Like you can see some of the, like the compression blocking and some of the like the color splotchiness, but then I'd have eyelashes and they'd be crisp, and I'd be like, that's weird.
Oh.
How is
Do you
it
think it's
seeing
like
this
trained
detail?
on people?
Yeah, it's trained on people because it's known. It goes like, okay, this is the part that would usually be an eyelash. It's a little bit of a blurry pixel now, but let's enhance it to what it should be, and that's what's going on. It's very subtle. I mean, the pictures look great, but it's interesting to just see a dedicated AI filter working on every picture you have now.
Does it do that locally, or is it using a cloud for that?
No, it does it locally. Part of the chip on the iPhone is dedicated to running machine learning models.
Yeah.
And doing it
Which is-
quickly.
Honestly, like the way to go.
It's really smart.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's the thing about machine learning models, right? Is that it takes a lot of processing power to create them, but then not that much to run them after they're created, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Training them is the hard part. It's running them that's I mean, granted, you can make a clunky model that's hard to run, but like generally speaking, running them is much faster than training them. Yeah.
Plus, the advantage of running it on a dedicated processor for that is that it's much more energy efficient. It's going to use far less, battery power. Because I remember back when the iPhone was first a thing, and it would die so quickly because the GPS was running off of the processor, and anytime you're using Google Maps, your battery would die like 10 times faster. And so after like another 1 or 2 generations of phones, they dedicated an entire different chip just to running GPS processing, and that like increased battery efficiency by like dramatically.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
some pretty wild stuff that's going on in phones right now. Like, yeah.
Oh, also, Niko, so this is your first new phone in 3 years. You had the 10, the original 10, the X,
The original 10, yeah.
and now you're on the 12. So you now have a wide-angle camera on your phone.
Yeah,
Ooh,
it's
that's
great. I love the
nice.
wide-angle camera. It's like
I'm
it's
jealous.
so
I have
cool.
like the 10S Max or whatever, so I don't have that.
Yeah, man.
Mine's 2
I've
years
been
old.
missing it. It's at this point in time, like my phone's just my baby picture camera. I use it to take pictures of my baby. That's pretty much mostly all I do with it. That and
Yeah.
play Civilization and talk on Discord, So and send text messages. So it's like I had that wide angle camera. I was feeling it. Like I was like, I'm trying to get these pictures and I can't get them. I'm too close. I can't back up far enough. The walls are. I live in a city. My buildings are too small. So yeah, it's really nice. The wide angle just opens up so many things. I swear within 10 years, Apple will make normal cameras like DSLRs and all that, just gonna make them obsolete. Don't get me wrong, there'll still be like, just like the people that buy records, there'll still be people that buy DSLRs and specialty jobs and all that kind of stuff. But generally speaking, I think the attraction for just the hobbyist and like even maybe the prosumers to go with a DSLR or even like a cinema camera like the Blackmagic Pocket or something, just gonna be wiped away after Apple's done, like with their stuff.
Yeah, because it's
just-
like the mainstay of having like solid big pieces of glass for lenses and whatnot is that it's the actual physics of an aperture being a certain size, accepting more light and having like that depth of field and whatnot. You're never able to capture that with the tiny lenses that are on our cameras. However, with all of the crazy processing going on with these photos now, they're able to detect depth and just simulate depth of field and bokeh in all of your shots from now on. So at a certain point, it's like, I bet you'll see like a tiny little lens, tiny little sensor capturing something that's just as good as a big lens and big sensor with proper depth of field.
Yeah, probably at a certain point, just like with resolution, it got to a point where you just couldn't tell whether something's, after 4K, you just can't really tell either way.
Yeah.
I could see that with image processing. It'll eventually get good enough. Yeah, that's the thing for me would be the actual physical form of it, because it's easier when you can attach handles and put it in a frame, and you've got the actual form factor of a camera. So that's the main thing for a phone right now, is that it doesn't, you have to hold it like this, and you kind of have to hold it daintily, and you put a piece of plastic on it that pops out that's attached with glue. It's still kind of, it's still kind of janky. I don't know how you get past that. I guess you could build some kind of aftermarket box.
True, but there's a couple things. It's like, one, like this lens profile is so tiny. Like I can get this like on a table, and get a shot from like on the table. Like if I wanted to do like, a point of view of this battery, I can actually get that because the phone is so tiny. Or things even just like holding it like out a window or like getting other cool angles with it. It's very easy to maneuver. So on one hand, the tininess counts against it, but on the other hand, it's also really nice for certain angles. Yeah, it's so light too. You can always rig it up. You could rig up a phone.
Or
Just
you
get
put
a hunky case for it,
Put on a glove, and the glove has a stabilizer, and the glove holds the camera.
The glove has little drone propellers, one on each side.
It just
pushes your hand to keep it stable.
It just balances it wherever you move it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would actually be pretty sweet. Maybe you should come up with that next, Wren. After you print the
Wren.
After you print the camera gun.
Peter.
Yeah, Wren.
Thanks for your input, Peter.
Hello! It's that time in the episode where I tell you about today's sponsor, Storyblocks. Now, if you guys don't know who they are, that means you probably haven't listened to this podcast very much because they sponsor us all the time. So I want to tell you who they are, not only because they sponsor the podcast, but also because we use them here at Corridor Digital for all of our stock asset needs. Storyblocks is the complete stock solution for creators and businesses alike when they're looking for high quality video, images, and sound and music for all the things that they're creating. They offer royalty-free plans, meaning that you can download from their site and use it in things that you are monetizing or commercial projects that you are using or creating for other clients. This is great because you don't have to worry about the logistics of whether or not you need to pay a royalty, whether you paid for the right subscription to get the royalty plan, da-da-da-da-da. All you do is you go on Storyblocks and you sign up for the unlimited all access plan. This gives you access to a virtually unlimited library of stock assets. We use it for video and B-roll. We use it for motion graphics. We use it for images. And the best part about the unlimited all access plan is that you can download as much as you want, whenever you want, and use it wherever you want. This is a huge asset for us. So if you're just an individual creator or you're a creative agency or a whole business, it doesn't matter. This is a great tool to have in your toolkit. And once again, a huge thanks to them for sponsoring this podcast continually, because honestly, it wouldn't be possible for us to take the time to produce it if it wasn't for them. So head on over to storyblocks.com/corridorcast to check out more. That's storyblocks.com/corridorcast. And well, you're gonna love it. Okay, back to the episode. Let's go.
You know, I'm kind of sad that in like popular culture science fiction, like little propellers and little rocket engines are like no longer considered like a viable way to maneuver your imaginary vehicles. You know, it's like, it's too, like, I was like, propellers don't work like that. You know, like if you had like a plane with 100 propellers on the top, or like, you know, a battleship that like, you know, had like 8 little rockets that like, you know, pushed it along. Like they don't do that anymore. It's always like anti-gravity or, you know, everybody's too wise about propellers and rockets these days.
And eventually they'll get wise about anti-gravity and
Yeah,
it'll be the same
exactly.
shtick, and then it'll be something else.
Well, you know what we gotta do?
What?
We gotta make a giant drone ship.
There you go.
Okay, I'm listening.
That's it. That's the idea.
Hey, you know what we gotta do, man? Okay, I got a great idea. We gotta make a giant drone ship.
Okay, but
it won't be
have
powered by
seen-
propellers. It'll be powered by anti-gravity, man.
people have done it. People have like built chairs with like 50 DJI drones around them to lift them into the air.
Well, they're not DJI drones. They're high-powered motors, but yeah.
Okay.
I've
You have
actually looked
100
into this
GoPros
quite a bit
filming.
because I would love to be able to actually pilot my own drone with my body in it. And it's the sort of thing that we can do today with current technology. People have done it already. Yeah. On top of that, I want to be able to fly a drone that can also swim. You know, like, because I've seen a video. I think it was from J True. I forget who made the video. Of like a drone on the bottom of a pool, and if the propellers turn on, it floats up to the top of the pool, leaves it, and then flies away.
Oh, whoa. Yeah, I guess that could work. That's
Because, I mean, as long as you waterproof all the electronics, the motors, there's no electronics in a motor. It's just wires. They can get wet. That's no big deal. As long as you waterproof everything that's, you know, a circuit, you can have it go underwater. So that's something that I kind of want to try, is maybe add like a 5th propeller on the back that's just like a little impeller to make it go forward.
Oh, speaking of
Man, that thing would
flying
be so
stuff,
loud.
I've got a question. You know how you flew that jetpack?
Yeah.
So if those of you who don't know, Wren last year, was it last year?
Yeah, it was last December.
Wren flew a jetpack at the LAX airport, wasn't it?
It wasn't LAX.
Oh, where was it?
It was like in Ventura.
Okay.
It was like really far away from LAX.
You were in an airplane hangar.
Yes.
Okay. So I
Private
saw an article. Did you see that article I shared with you?
I think I know what you're talking
It was
about.
a couple weeks ago, and I shared with you an article where there had been sightings of people at LAX being like, yeah, we saw this. We saw somebody in a jetpack again today. We don't know what's going on.
So, yes, I looked into that.
Okay.
Currently, no one knows what it is, because it couldn't have been a jetpack. It definitely wasn't any of the jetpacks that anyone knows of currently, because a jetpack can fail
Yeah.
and
right.
you fall.
Right.
And if you're then it's because I asked the dude who invented the jetpack that I tried out, I was like, how high can it go? And he's like, however high as I want it to go. I can go to the atmosphere or the stratosphere if I want to, but like, you know, if it fails a lot, and if it fails, if I'm anywhere above like 15 feet, you're gonna break some legs.
Right.
So they rarely fly above like 10, 15 feet.
Right.
Unless they're over water, and then they never go above like 40, 50, but still. So that sighting came from, I think, pilots flying actual airliners as opposed to pedestrians or whatever. And they're seeing them at like 3,000 feet altitude, which is like really high up. And then it was just like a one and done thing. We were like, that's a weird thing. But then it happened again, like a month later.
Right.
Someone saw the same thing again. No one still knows what that was or what it is or what's going on.
That
there
person
any photos
fell
of it?
into the Pacific Ocean, and they are no longer with us.
It was hypothesized that maybe it was like a mannequin on a drone.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a boring explanation.
It's
What about
it's
just a
one that
balloon?
makes sense.
Or it was a person who was just dumb enough. See, the thing, I don't know how you could be smart enough to make a jetpack, but then dumb enough to fly it that high without knowing that you had some fail safe.
Dude,
I mean,
we got a
that's-
superhero on our hands.
Maybe we have a flying man on our hands.
We've got to call the authorities. We've got a flying man on our hands.
An Iron Man.
Do you think the pilots were just flying along? He's like, is that a guy?
Is that a guy?
Is that straight up a dude right there?
Hey, Frank, is that a guy?
Is that a guy?
Wait, is it?
This is a throwback reference I don't
Shit, I
think
think it is.
anyone's gonna get.
Hold on. Okay, I got it. Here, let me send that to the wife. Okay. Hey, honey.
Hey, is this a guy?
I mean, dude, who knows? I could see somebody doing that though. I could see somebody being like, "I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna be the first one, and then Iron Man is gonna happen to me."
Yeah.
But here's the thing: if someone's doing that and they're flying that high up, they're not gonna do it near an airport.
Yeah.
You would think, but who would? You know, like
No one would fly anything near an airport like that. It's incredibly reckless and dangerous.
right? Yeah, but
It's hard to be that smart and that dumb at the same time.
Yeah, but
Exactly.
people-
Unless you're a billionaire who
With
owns
pilot
an
scraps.
enterprise and you buy your tech.
and you own your tech.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless you're an Iron Man, in which case, you know, I don't know. Maybe you could do it. Maybe it was a mannequin on a drone, but still, even in the event that it was a mannequin flying a drone, you're still dealing with a person or a drone flying a mannequin. Sorry, you're still dealing with a situation where somebody's flying that close to an airport recklessly.
Yep.
So I'd say, yeah, it's more likely that it's that because that's way more accessible to an idiot.
Yes. I mean, the FAA is all over this right now. They are investigating the hell out of this right now.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
I'm sure. I'm sure they're super excited about it. They're like, guys, planes have been taking off and landing with almost 100% consistency for the last 80 years. Okay? And now there's a mannequin or a man flying around.
Dude, it's just Jeff Bezos. It's obviously just Jeff Bezos.
It's just Jeff.
Oh, Jeff.
You know, your old pal Jeff. He's up there. He left the Honda Accord. Now he's up in the sky flying around.
Jeff Bezos drives a Honda Accord.
No, he used to though.
Oh.
When Amazon was like a young company and he did his first like 60 minutes interview, they were driving around in a like a Honda Civic or something that was like basically it was like yours. It was same era. It was late 90s. And
So you're saying like I'm like Jeff Bezos and
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's where yeah.
gotcha.
Now he drives a Tesla.
No way. He drives a
he?
jetpack. We
No,
just covered this.
Yeah, Nico
He
drives
clearly
a
drives
Tesla.
a jet.
Oh, gotcha.
Oh yeah, I drive a Tesla. Yeah.
I
How
mean,
have you
do
been enjoying that Model Y, by the way?
Dude, the Model Y is the best car I've ever driven. Straight
Really?
up. And
Are you worried
driven
about
some
it
nice cars.
taking control of you and driving off somewhere that you
No,
don't have
not at all.
control over? Okay, because when there was one time Wren, it wouldn't move until Wren put his seatbelt on, and I was concerned. That,
What? When was that?
remember when we were at the range and we were filming Bosstown Dynamics, and you got into Move It, and you went to put, and it wouldn't move in reverse until you put the seatbelt on.
Okay, that is actually something it does do, and it's really annoying because I get home and if my gate is closed, I have to get out because I back into my driveway. So I have to get out, open the gate, and I get back into my car to pull into the driveway, and I never put on my seatbelt because I'm going in a driveway. So I go about 4 feet, and then the car just lurches to a stop. I'm like, huh? And it's like,
Oh my God.
and it's like, put your seatbelt on. We're preventing a rollaway. It's in danger. I'm like, what?
Oh, roll away.
You should just 3D print a little seat buckle and just put it in.
That's way more work than.
Listen,
then
how
I have
you-
to worry about taking it out and then storing it, and this is stupid.
How are you gonna ghost ride the whip if you can't get out of your Tesla while it's driving?
Autonomously ghost ride the whip.
I mean, people
mean-
have tried that. People have actually succeeded in doing that before getting, fined tremendous amounts of money
With a
'cause it's
mannequin?
illegal. I forget how they did it, but basically the dude he puts a weight on the steering wheel and some sort of weight on the seat to fool it into thinking he's still there. I think he was sitting on the seatbelt, and then he just got up and got in the back seat as it's going down the highway, and someone got a video of him doing that.
Yeah, I don't want
I
to
think
do
he
that
even
on
got.
the public
I think it was.
road.
I think it was in England. It was in the UK, I believe, and I think he got arrested.
Yeah, don't do that
Maybe
on
it
a
was Germany.
public road.
I forget where, but it was super not okay.
We could totally do that on someone's land, though. And that would be a lot of fun.
Thing is,
I mean, you
doesn't
could have
the
a car drive itself on someone's property.
Yeah,
without
does
anyone in
Tesla
it.
need road maps or road vectors to truly do autonomous driving though?
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Well, I guess it does. It does the parking lot summon thing, but when you're on a road, I thought the Tesla kind of checked in with the known maps to be okay. There should be a 15-degree curve coming up here.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So if you're on private property and you didn't have that, then theoretically the Tesla wouldn't be able to follow the roads correctly.
Potentially. I mean, what it's still doing is it's reading all the cameras. Tesla's standpoint on this is that all right, people can drive cars using 2 cameras as inputs. Going back to the crew video you guys were making earlier. So it's if we can do that with just 2 cameras, a car should be able to do it with 8 cameras, radar, and sonar.
Yeah, cars. Come on.
As opposed to how everyone else is doing self-driving cars, which is using a LiDAR scanner, actually creating a real-time 3D scan of the environment.
Whoa.
But there's a lot of downsides of that. It doesn't work in rain or fog. So.
Wait, the Tesla doesn't have LiDAR either? It just has radar and sonar?
Correct. Yeah, and the sonar is only effective up to 5 feet around the car, a circumference around the car, and then the radar is 500 feet in front of you, but not behind or to the sides.
So the sonar is what it uses to tell if you're about to bump your door on a garbage can.
Exactly. Yeah,
So
when it starts popping up, how many inches away from something you are.
I love that feature. It's so
Nice.
good. He's gas motors aside, there's so many other little things about cars that they just rethought. There's not this legacy of we have 40 years of making this car body. It's got to have these things in it. That I super appreciate in the Model Y. Everything from the wireless phone charger built into the console where you put your phone. So anytime you set your phone down there, it starts charging. It's that's
Which
so
even I
good.
don't have.
You can get it, I'm sure.
I
It's a
can,
little
yeah,
you
it's
just
an
swap out
upgrade.
the plates or whatever.
But I'm I don't want to pay $150 for this little upgrade.
Yeah, and then things like the phone key is another one. I'm surprised that maybe cars are like this these days, but I don't think so. But I'm surprised more cars don't have a second battery for running your electronics at this point. Why are all the cars' electronics still running off the 12-volt battery meant for starting your engine? Make a separate LiPo battery bank for your car to just run things like your radio and your Bluetooth receivers and all the things that make your car smart that should make independent of your motor having to run. Why don't they do that? It seems so trivial.
That's a good idea for sure. But what's truly ironic, Niko? A Tesla, maybe not the Model Y, but I'm pretty sure that is still the case. All of the electronics, all of the computer, the software, all that stuff, still run off of a lead acid 12-volt battery. A regular run-of-the-mill car battery is actually inside a Tesla, and that's what all the electronics are run off of.
What? Really?
Yep.
Dun, dun, dun. Trouble in paradise. Guys.
No.
And then that battery is
No,
recharged
don't
by
say
the
help
car
Nico.
battery.
Somebody help Nico.
No, you're lying to me. No,
You could
that's not true.
You could also hack into any Model 3 or Model Y. You know that little circle on the front of your car? That little little circle thing?
Oh wait, it's
Little
like the
wheel.
panel.
It's like a little
wheel.
circle about this
Yes,
big.
like a little
on the
panel
front
cutout.
fascia, yeah. You could actually poke into that and pull out 2 wires, and if you connect a 9-volt battery to it, it'll open your hood.
Oh really?
Yeah, so anyone can open anyone's hood if you have a 9-volt battery.
Whoa.
But then, of course, you're on camera because Teslas are recording 4 different camera feeds at all times, and the alarm would go off and all
I
that
need to
stuff.
get the a USB stick so I
Yeah,
can
but
actually
then
save those
you already
recordings.
got the mask on, okay? Because it's COVID. So then now you just pull out your phone and the alarm's going off, and you're like, you just wear like a nice button up with like some slacks, so people are like, oh yeah, that guy owns that car. And then you're like looking at your phone like, yeah, if people are looking at you. I don't know. I'm trying to fix it. I don't know. I'm calling somebody right now. Yeah, sorry. Hey, sorry. And then your buddy's just there like ripping out all the components.
I mean, Jake, I've actually thought about that before. Like, not actually following through on it, but I've thought about, like, what if I decided to, just rob this Tesla? Like, how would I go about doing
to
it?
dream, Wren. It doesn't cost anything to dream. Yeah, so no, there's a huge problem with a lot of different functionalities like that. With these Ford F-150s that I got, there's like this really easy way to crack into the cabins. And so out here, there's so
Ooh,
damn
tell me
many.
more.
No, there's so damn many of them out here. All you need is a Phillips head screwdriver and basically a hammer, and then you can you can get right into them. And so there's so many of them out here. Like, people are always breaking into them for all kinds of nonsense. Yeah, so I'm super paranoid about that now.
Locks are
'cause
just an illusion of security.
They are. A lock only keeps an honest man honest. I once heard it said.
Whoa.
That's pretty good.
So, but yeah.
The funny
no,
thing about locks. Sorry, keep going. Keep going.
that's it. Go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's there's always some way to do a hack or, do you remember when we were in high school, Nico? Those kids got busted stealing cars because they were cracking into. They had this way to you basically crack the like third panel in a window, and then you open it, and then they were like hammering into the top of the steering column, and then like hot wiring them and joyriding them. Yeah. That was a thing for a while. I wasn't a part of it, but I heard about it. I just, and
You heard about
I
it.
heard about it. I heard it didn't
know
end.
an awful lot about the process.
Yeah,
You know, then they pop that one window and they go in the car. And
Yeah,
there's
on
these
the
two
specific
wires.
models, specific models from '94 to '99. No, so yeah, I think they all got arrested. I don't know.
Oof.
Peter, your video leaked out really hard for a second there, so like you just end up with like really bad comedic timing on that green wire joke. It's like we had moved on. Like there's like a solid 8 seconds later, like, don't touch the green wire. It's like, hey.
Don't touch the green wire.
I've been working on this zinger from like this moment from 5 minutes
Actually,
ago.
my Wi-Fi was fine. I just have awful comedic timing.
It's all good, man. Happens to the best.
Do you guys want to talk about Population 1?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I do.
dude. It's finally
Peter,
not
so
buggy
you've
anymore.
been playing a little bit more. You finally
Yeah,
got to
dude,
work in
it's
and you've been
great.
playing.
Dude,
Okay,
the
good.
first week I tried to play it, there were so many bugs. Like I couldn't turn, my clips wouldn't go in, my fucking camera would stay in the same place when I moved my head. But they finally fixed all of it. and
Are
it's
you
really
sure
fun.
it wasn't your Wi-Fi?
No, it might have been my Wi-Fi. Hey, but I upgraded my router and modem, so now I don't have McDonald's Wi-Fi anymore.
Oh, dude, sick.
I called them. I was like, "Hey, I'm supposed to be getting like 300 megabits. I'm getting like 3," and they were like, "Oh, dude, your router is like 15 years old." I was like, "Oh, cool."
Oh, well,
Send
there's
me a
your
new one.
problem right there.
Yeah, there's my problem
let
right
me
there.
tell you something. There's a problem right there.
Yep.
So Nico and I have been playing Population 1, which is a VR battle royale game. We've been playing it on the Quest 2, and it has honestly been one of the best like VR experiences just for like quick, fun multiplayer shooter type fun stuff.
It helps
and
that
Peter,
we win all the time.
It does help to the point that I don't want to play anymore unless I'm playing with one of you guys, because
Oh
I
my
usually
God.
end up getting paired with two guys who are brand new to the game, and we end up losing. I'm like, well, this sucks. But so Peter, you're playing on the Vive Pro with the
Yeah.
lighthouse tracking and all that stuff.
So it's not made for the Vive Pro, but it does work on it. Like, it was made for Oculus, right?
It was made for, yeah, but this game has been in development for like 2 years. They announced it
wow.
like 2 years ago, and so then the Quest came out, and they actually pivoted to make it work on the Quest, and then the Quest 2. So actually, if you're playing on it from the computer, your graphics are going to be better than what we're seeing on the Quest.
Interesting.
But that being said, I have not had any complaints about the graphics in this game, even though it's like, I guess technically they're lo-fi textured, like
Fortnite-y.
simplistic. It is kind of Fortnite-y in style, but there's something just so satisfying about just like climbing something, looking around, jumping off and flying there, and then pulling out
climbing
a
and flying
gun,
is
and then
great.
just like,
That
Feels
sounds
very
fun.
freeing.
Yeah.
They did a really good job of like embracing, like, you know, this is an ethos that Brandon brought to like Boneworks to a certain degree too, which is like VR shouldn't just be about fully simulating reality. It should be about giving you the access to the reality of your dreams. You know, having levitation, having flying, having infinite strength, like all these things. You want to enable some of that to make it like truly fun, because otherwise, why go into VR? I can pick up an object and drop it in real life and marvel at the physics of that. You know.
I do that
And,
all the time.
And you know, so Population 1 brings to life, you know, a lot of types of gameplay that you really can only have in VR, but it's simplified enough and like babyified enough that like, you know, you can still do it in what is not, you know, it's not a perfect representation of reality. It's definitely still a proximity of it. So, you know, things like reloading a gun, it's not like a fine-tuned thing. It's just a bleh, bleh, you know, you just basically do 2 movements and you're done. But you still have to do a movement to reload. It still requires a physical reaction. And the weird thing about Population 1 compared to like shooters on the computer for myself is I am way more situationally aware and spatially aware in
Totally.
VR and in Pop 1 than I am like on the computer playing a shooter. It's weird. Like, I know way more like about where people are positioned, how they're moving. Like, it's a weird sense where it's like, maybe it's because I spent more time in VR over the past few years, but like, my brain clicks with that information so much better. So when I get into a gunfight, like, I'm way more deadly compared to a gunfight, like when I'm playing mouse and keyboard.
Well, you're
probably way
getting
more
all
deadly,
the inputs
too.
that you would get, you know, just in real life, and your brain has so much more power to process that than process what's on a screen. So it kind of makes sense. It's more intuitive.
And there's the
Yeah.
depth factor.
Yeah.
You know, like being able to see depth just from 2 eyes. I've started experimenting with making 3D video. We have like the Insta360 Evo camera, which is basically a 360 camera that literally unfolds to become 2 180-degree cameras that are perfectly distanced, the same distance as our eyeballs, so that like it records video, and when you review it back in a VR headset, it literally looks like you're seeing real life. It's pretty nuts. So I threw it
It's
on
amazing.
my racing drone and like flew around a park, and it's like, ah, I'm flying.
That's what I was about to say. Is Wren showed me that video, and my whole expression the entire time was just, oh!
I also took it on a one-wheel ride, and that was a lot of fun. It works really well. But it's like it's shooting at 5K. I mean, shared between the two images, so it's like 5K is not enough for like a VR video. Maybe not like 360 video, in my opinion, completely overrated. If I'm in a VR headset and I'm wanting to watch something, put it in front of me. I don't care what's behind me. Don't waste your pixels on all that stuff. I just want to see 3D 180 video in front of me. And I think it's the way to go. So I think we have to be at least 8K before it starts getting like 8K, like 60 FPS minimum for that sort of thing to be like good.
Well, you have like a lower frame rate, higher resolution mode on that, right?
What?
You're showing me one video that had a lower frame rate, but a better resolution.
Oh yes. Okay. So. No, I in my experiments I had one that was shooting like 5K at 30 FPS, and then another one that was shooting 4K at 50 FPS.
Oh, okay.
And the 4K 50 FPS looks significantly better because
Yeah,
that
it's like,
temporal
even though there's
resolution is a
less-
big deal. It's like at 30 FPS, you know, it might look more cinematic, or maybe not 30, but you know, 24. But when you're immersed in something, you don't want to have that stuttery feel. It's really like jarring to watch. So you want to have as high frame rate as possible.
Yeah, it looked much better with the high frame rate, even though it was less resolution.
Exactly, yeah.
Hey, Wren.
Yo.
you get a lot of questions from people looking to do what you do with their life. I should actually send some more of these to you, because we get emails every day of people asking, "Hey, I want to do what you guys do. I just don't know how."
Is this a Skillshare segue?
No, this is not. No,
I thought the same thing.
This is not a Skillshare segue. No, this is a legit segue.
Okay.
I have a legit question. So, and Spencer's been asked this too, because Spencer's kind of a MacGyver of technology and trait. What do you think the best, most direct path is for someone to be able to do relatively the same thing as what you do in your life? And not necessarily the same path that you took, but like...
Gotta go to NAM.
What? Go to NAM?
Go to NAM. Back in NAM is where I got these skills.
That's true, yeah. Wren did live in Vietnam.
Which is completely irrelevant. But, I mean, so it's weird. I don't know anyone else who does what I do. Like, not even anyone here at Corridor does what I do,
Right. Right.
I don't know. When you say, like... Are you talking about being a YouTuber, making videos, being like a visual effects artist? Because I'd say those are two different things. Or like any number of other things that we do here. Like, what's the best path
I think
for that?
that's a good combination of traits, I think. Like, do you need a dad that's a geologist? Do you need to what do you... Did you absorb information from him that got you like inspired to do stuff, or like were you like, you know what, engineering, then VFX, and then I'm good to go?
Yeah, I mean, the engineering thing was just like my brain works at like an engineer brain would, I guess. But there's a huge amount of crossover between visual effects and engineering, because it's all problem solving. I've just always been way more of like visually based in how I like view the world and think about problems. So It was like when I was actually like finishing up my engineering degree, like literally my final semester in my last year, that I was like, I don't want to do engineering. But it wasn't so much that I didn't want to do it as much as I was really falling in love with, making YouTube videos and visual effects. And then this new channel came out of nowhere called Corridor Digital and uploaded like this random like VFX test of like the floor like
man, you're bringing
like
it back.
like literally one of the first videos
coming out from Greenside, right? With the TV coming out of the floor.
Yep.
Maybe, yeah. And there's like the hailstorm on the street. You saying the building's not up to code as you bonked into it. Like, anyway, this was all around the same time as like Freddy and whatnot. And I was just before that, I was also discovering visual effects. So it was all like hobby based. And so it was all stuff I taught myself. And when I say that there's crossover between that and engineering, it's like technically I've never really applied anything I learned in engineering directly to VFX, but it does help with like learning how to work hard and problem solve and just like persevere through like late nights and stuff like that. But
yeah, and then also I guess go ahead.
Well, yeah, I guess what I'm saying is that like all of the resources are out there for you to learn to do whatever it is you want to do. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. You could probably find some sort of resource for free, chances are. If not, maybe it costs a little bit of money for like some sort of course or whatever. But yeah, it's like you combine that with passion that is so intense it borderlines on obsession. I think you have to have a little bit of obsession to really make it in some of these fields.
I agree.
And it's like, obsession isn't exactly healthy. And at the same time, so to define, I guess, what I consider to be obsession, it's when you take something that is of interest to you, like a hobby, but then you just like, you just focus on it, and it's the only thing you care about in your life. You're not watching movies or video games. You don't have any sort of like side things you do on the side. Like, all of your spare time is doing this one thing. And ideally, all of your like pro time is also doing that same thing. Like back in the like early 2010s, like right around when I graduated college and I was like focusing on this stuff, like I would spend all day, every day, just focusing on learning how to do visual effects, coming up with ideas that I can try to actually follow through on. Because it's one thing to study tutorials and like learn and read everything you can, but it's another to actually apply that stuff. And the only way to apply it is to like pick something you're going to try to do and just work your butt off to try to achieve that. And
Yeah.
it's all about just like, all right, I have no idea how to do this, but the process of getting to that point is so valuable. And then it's like, okay, once you've done that, then it's the next thing. And that's basically what all YouTube is just doing that over and over and over again. You make a new video, make another new video, do it again, rinse, repeat, year in, year out.
I mean, that's
Consistency.
really echoes my experience, and I bet it sounds like it echoes Peter's and Jake's experience
Yep.
too. I mean, I think that's what you're saying there is
spot on.
kind of the core truth of anybody who's really trying to go out and pursue something that requires you to be unique. Is you have to be unique, and really the only way to be unique at something is to like truly dedicate yourself to something and develop it and make it yours, which is not something that happens casually or
Exactly.
flippantly.
I think that's one of the hardest things, especially for if you're coming out the gate, you know, from high school or college, and you're trying to pick, because once you start doing that, the other doorways of your life have to close. You know, in order for you to be obsessed at one thing, you have to close the door off to 5 other things.
Yeah.
But it also that also narrows your focus too. So that's not necessarily a bad thing, because it narrows your focus. It allows you to simply and more efficiently focus on something, and ideally that something is taking all the other 5 things that you could be doing and giving you something more rewarding as a result of it. And that's different for everybody, but
I
think the
almost
same-
flunked out of college due to this obsession.
Yeah.
Like I was put on academic probation twice in college for like getting bad grades. Like I think I got a couple D's.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't very good at like advanced calculus.
Yeah.
it was
almost-
hard. And so but it was because I mean partly because I was, you know, playing Halo with all my roommates and whatnot, but also because I was obsessed with like just learning as much as I could about filmmaking and visual effects. And I was just absorbing as much information as I could, and as a result my studies that I was paying tuition to do were suffering. And so at a certain point I had to realize I had to stop doing all this so I could focus on finishing engineering. Otherwise, I would lose probably both. And so, yeah, like you're saying, if you're gonna have this one door open, your other doors are closing around you.
Right.
And I realized, okay, this is a fun side door, but I have to close it to make sure this main door stays open.
Right.
It really helps
Yeah.
too when you love it. Like, Wren,
Yeah.
it sounds like you really loved it, and so you didn't have a problem dedicating all your time to it. And honestly, I feel like that's such a gift more than anything, is to love the thing that you're doing, because then all the work you're doing doesn't feel as much like work.
I guess
You're
that's
more
where,
willing to put all your
yeah, I
time
guess
into it.
that's where like the passion side of things comes in, because it's like it's obsession, yeah, but passion is obsession with love, right?
Man, this is a
Did you just
poetic
come up with that?
podcast.
Yeah, it's a balance too, because I mean,
And Locke's always keep an honest man honest.
no, I almost flunked out of law school because of it too.
I
Like,
did
'cause of-
flunk out of college.
yeah, Peter.
Well, I just
yeah.
stopped going.
Yeah, Peter just stopped going.
But you stopped at the worst time, dude.
Brandon,
He's
best
not the
time.
best time. He'd be
Brandon
sitting
never
there through
graduated
Zoom
either.
classes right now, man. God, can you imagine
yeah,
paying
screw
60
that.
grand a year for college right now, and all you're getting is Zoom classes? It's like, dude, I could
that's
watch YouTube
rough.
tutorials and make money. Like,
I think a lot of
point.
people are right now. Honestly.
oh, that's rough.
Dude, I might be outing him a little bit here, but one of the guys I raced with from Race to the Rail, I'm not going to say his name just to make it a little harder. Anyway, he's a kid. Very, very good at one-wheeling, and him and I bonded over batteries. Like, he loves to take apart the one wheel and, like, sell off parts and, like, remake battery packs and stuff like that. And so he was telling me about this last semester of school where it was all Zoom-based, and he basically just checked out. He would like turn it on so that he was like technically like, you know, in class, but he was just tinkering off to the side. So he wasn't, that whole last semester of class, like he didn't pay attention at all.
Wait, is
And-
this high school or college?
He's a high school kid. But he's also a very, very smart dude. I don't think he's really missing out too much on that, but I mean, you know, whatever. So instead, he's just having a thriving business, making thousands of dollars as a freaking 15-year-old high school kid.
More power to him.
Like lots of
I mean,
thousands.
that's important. If you're going to check out, you have to be dedicating your time to something. You know, your passion, your obsession. Like that's, you know, if you're just going to sit there and play video games, I mean, maybe if you're doing it pro, you know, if you're professionally playing video games.
Video
but-
games are where it gets little
there's a
murky to
big
talk
difference
about.
between there's a big difference between not going because you're starting your own business, which is effectively what that kid's doing.
Yeah.
Or like, you know, Brandon was had finished and he was already like scheduled and slated to go into the field that he wanted to do. Peter, same thing. Wren, you were effectively training yourself to do all the skills to do what you do now. There's a huge difference between that and just being like, well, school's for idiots, so you know.
Yeah.
Like and sometimes, you know, for people that are wondering about like, hey, maybe you haven't found that thing yet, sometimes you find something and then you become passionate about it because you start to see how it affects the rest of the world around you, you know. And you might not have seen that at the beginning, but once you uncover that rock or two and you're like, oh, hey, actually that part about what I'm doing right now, actually I really like that. What's underneath there? And then you start to you start to walk through those doors and you start to see, oh, how it comes back or opens up these other doors into all these other things. So
Peter,
yeah.
I got a question for you. As someone who's just finished their run at college, what advice would you have for other people that are interested in doing, not necessarily VFX, but, you know, kind of what we're doing here, like trying to take one of your passions and make an entertainment / information career out of it, you know? What advice would you have for someone like that?
I mean, film school is a great place to go. I mean, not because of the classes that you're going to be taking, because in my classes we like started off with the really obscure, abstract, experimental stuff. It's like we didn't start with Raiders of the Lost Ark and work our way forwards. We started with like the creme de la creme of art films and worked our way backwards, which was a really strange way to do it. And I didn't get to pick up a camera in any class until my last year of college. So my biggest piece of advice would be to just not wait for anybody to tell you to make a movie. And just, I mean, it's like, you've heard this advice from a million YouTubers over the years, but just pick up a camera and start making movies. Don't worry about spending money or anything. And honestly, I feel like I did not waste because it's valuable, but I spent a lot of time learning how to make things look good and sound good and look realistic, where I wish I had been focusing that time more on learning structure and storytelling and screenwriting and that kind of thing, because, you know, you can have a movie that looks amazing and sounds amazing, but if the story's not great, then nobody's going to want to watch it.
To add on that, I feel like a lot of the value from like getting a film degree or an art degree is that you're getting all of the theory, getting all of like the why things are this way, why people implement these strategies when it comes to art, or you know, and structure and storytelling and all that stuff. Whereas like all the technical stuff, that's best learned on your own. That's best learned through like just actually following a manual and doing it. Totally. And so it's like that's probably why you don't pick up a camera until the last year, because it's like I don't know. There's a lot. I mean, I'm saying it's like you should definitely just not consider that a film school is going to get you to hold a camera. That's something you have to do on your own. The film school is there to tell you why you're holding a camera, right? I mean, I don't know. Niko, you got like a film minor or art major.
I had a double major, Wren.
Double major, that's what it is. Okay, I knew it was
They're
art.
both on equal footing.
And also, okay, that's fair. I just knew. I always remember.
Red.
I mean, I double majored in film and fine art.
Fine art, yeah, right.
And
That's
the
the one
fine
that
art
always sticks out in
degree-
my head.
Yeah, the fine art degree is what like gave me like a bunch of the wisdom I have today. I got some of it from my film degree, but really only from 2 classes. One of which was kind of a bullshit class, but it was a fun class that like made you think. It was psychology in film, and there was so much Freud in that class. By the way, Freud, while being a famous psychologist, none of his shit is scientifically like used today. Like it's all made up. It's entirely somebody just looking at the world.
Conjecture of the mind.
Yeah, it's all made up stuff. Somebody trying to make it all make sense, and it's all, you know, nowhere based in scientific theory these days. I mean, there's, you know, some initial like things that started the thought process to where we are now and whatnot. But anyways, this film class like did way too much quoting of Freud, because obviously none of his stuff applies to medical psychology. But I'm speaking in broad generalizations here. I'm sure someone who has a psychology degree is going to
Like,
chime in the
"What?"
comments later. Like,
Oh my god.
anyways, but that class still taught us to think about things that you completely take for granted when it comes to filmmaking and start asking, like, it's literally the psychological function that you have, where it's like, at what point do you start ignoring the borders of the screen? You know, like, do you ask yourself that? Do you ever go like, boy, I wish the screen was a little bit wider? Like, you don't. You're like, the moment you start watching TV, you ignore the borders and they go away. And there's all these kind of questions of like, how does that work? How psychologically, what happens? What happens if you have 8 shots in a row that are all, you know, like shoulder mounted head height shots, and your 9th shot is up high looking down at your actors like a god's eye view? What does that do, psychologically speaking? Like, what does it trigger inside of you? Especially like to people that don't study it, like, because people just watch a movie, right? It just, you absorb it and that's it. So what are you tweaking in their brain when you cut to that angle that's different than all the other angles? And so they all say things. You know, it was fascinating stuff, but like it was very like, you know, hocus pocus science at the same time. But it was like one of 2 classes that like really got me like thinking about the function of film. And that was, you know, by then I was a senior, it was like my last semester, and so then I was out of school by that point. Whereas I got a lot more of that kind of stuff from my art degree. You know, everything from like artist statements to having a purpose. You know, the craftsmanship, like they definitely don't really teach you craftsmanship in film school. I mean, yeah, they do in some, obviously, and they do in some art classes, but like you're going to get, you know, there's no point in going to college to learn how to use Adobe Premiere or Adobe After Effects.
That's a very good point. Yeah,
that's not what college is for. And there's especially no point in going like $150,000 to $200,000 in debt just to learn After Effects. But if you're going to meet people and like trying to learn new perspectives and broaden your points of view on things, like it can be very valuable for that. But that
was the biggest takeaway I got from college, was just having that experience of moving away from home and learning about myself and broadening my horizons as a person.
Self-exploration.
Spiritual exploration. No, but that was definitely the most valuable part. So I don't think college is for everybody, but I think getting out of the house and moving somewhere else is for everybody.
And then also like, you know, having roommates or flatmates or, you know, living in a dorm and just having that social experience, I think, is important.
Yeah. Yeah, because you still need to interact with people for the rest of your life, so you might as well get good at it.
Yeah, I mean, look at Clint. Look at how awful he turned out. He didn't go to college.
God help him.
Okay, well, Clint went to freaking yoga school in Bali, which is just sick. So.
Though Clint did get up out of the house and go and try, you know.
Yeah, he's done a bunch of traveling. Like, he pursued the same things that one would experience in college, but he did it without college, which is entirely something you can do. Like, you don't need to go to college. But at the same time, you should enrich yourself as a person and grow yourself as a person, no matter what you do. You know, that stuff's good to do. My one advice for people who are listening to this and thinking about getting into film school or, you know, switching careers or all that kind of stuff, you know, my one piece of advice would be to try not to go into debt for it, because, especially if it's a passion-driven thing, because at some point you need to start turning it into a career, and it's really hard to make that push from it being a passion to a thing that actually gives you a living if you're having to pay off $500 or $1,000 a month in the process. Especially at the beginning, you're going to be doing a lot of it for free as you just try to find other people who are as passionate about it as you are. And then after a while, you'll all still have to grow as artists and network and eventually find the people that have the money in it, or find a way to make money yourself, which takes time because you have to build up, you know, an audience and people that are willing to purchase your product. And to do all that, you need time, and it's hard to find the time if you got the thumb of like debt just pushing down on you the whole time. So that's the one thing that like I caution people when they like talk about going to like USC to study film. It's like, you know, if you have a way to handle the debt, or you got scholarships or something, you know, savings, whatever it might be, cool. But you're gonna have a really hard time making good on that like film degree and finding yourself as an artist if you are having to pay off a bunch of debt in the process. If you have a mortgage basically right out of film school, you're gonna have a hard time. So
yeah, no, I think that's really good advice. I mean, I remember when I got out of undergraduate, and I had a little bit of debt, and my first thing was like, you know, I gotta go get a job because I gotta pay for this college. And it took me from thinking about like, okay, what's the best long-term career strategy here, to just, okay, boom, this is my job, I got to go do it. And that only lasted for so long before I, didn't want to do it anymore. And eventually I went and got myself more debt. But at the time we were building that debt, or I was building that debt, we were building a business too. Mm-hmm. So, they worked hand in hand, and eventually, that all came due, and it is what it is. But yeah, I think that's important for sure. Like, if you can avoid going into debt, you'll be better off. If you're already in debt because of it, don't worry though. There's still ways to do it, and there's ways to slice it.
You're gonna have to work through it, but that's cool.
Right.
Everybody's got to work through it.
Right. Exactly.
You pay your dues at some point.
Yeah, exactly. That's don't be confused with that. Don't confuse that with not having to pay your dues, because that's true in everything you do, no matter what you do.
Yep. Exactly.
And that's how you become a YouTuber.
Hey. All right.
Well, that's it. that's
there we go. We solved the problem of what to do with your life. Thanks for listening. And if you guys want to really hear us rant, consider a website subscription, corridordigital.com. It's way cooler than watching us on YouTube, because it allows us to make more shows and more content. There's exclusive shows on there
X-rated
right now.
content.
X-rated Peter's X-rated Corner.
All the fanfic.
Yeah, is one
we
new
made
show.
it into a series.
Mm-hmm. Yep, we made it into a whole series. So go on and check that out. It's $3.99 a month, and you get points that you can put into shows to tell us what you want to see us make.
Yeah.
All right.
Good stuff.
Heck yeah.
Thanks for watching.
Listening, everybody.
Yep.
Watching
See
or
you guys
listening,
later.
whatever you like. So long, everybody.
Peace
See you next
out.
week.